I guess I need to track down this a WebEx protocol script from Daniel Johnson, but I'll just let everybody know that this meeting is being recorded for future reference. And I guess I would ask everybody just to limit outside noises from interfering with the meeting. If you could mute yourself until you're ready to speak, and then unmute in order to speak. I think that'll allow things to go more smoothly. So I'd like to start the meeting by calling the meeting to order and taking attendance. And I do see we do have a quorum. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 9 members. So we do have a quorum. So take attendance now. Colin Gillespie. Yep. Present. I see you there.
Here, present. Thank you. No.
Sure. Dan Firestone. Let's see Dan. Denise Gutierrez.
Present.
Is here. Thank you. And Jill Borowski is here.
Present. Yep.
Ken Livingston.
Present.
Thank you. Paul Hogan.
Here.
Ryan Nebrega.
Here.
Sandy Fry. I don't see Sandy. In fact, Sandy told me that she had something came up at the last minute. She would not be able to make tonight's meeting. And Ed Pollack present. Okay. I'd like to, before we go any further, and I need to make this point, then that is that Denise Gutierrez, who has served as secretary for this commission for some time, has told me that she will be leaving that position, leaving that post. She would no longer be the secretary of the commission. I'd like to thank Denise. Thank you very much for your service to this commission and to the greater community. Really appreciate all that you've done in taking minutes and then submitting them to the town. So really appreciate that. But that means that we do need to appoint a new secretary. I can't run the meeting and take notes as well. So I really, I'd like to open it now to ask. I did, I guess, circulate an email a little while ago asking for somebody to volunteer to be secretary. So hopefully you've had a little bit of time to think about it, and I'd like to open the floor now to anybody who'd like to raise their hand to be secretary starting at tonight's meeting, actually.
This is when we all turn our cameras off. I really feel badly, but I cannot. My work situation for the next 6 months, 8 months is pretty crazy. So I really can't. Can we nominate someone who's not here?
I'd love to say yes. That would probably violate Robert's rules. I mentioned, thank you for that, Jill. I know you told me that earlier. But I did mention in my email that, this is not an exact transcript of the meeting. The minutes are not an exact transcript of the meeting. Really, it's just the sense of the meeting, of what took place, to memorialize. The town requires it for any sitting commission. So it does not have to be a large effort, but just if you can take sufficient notes during the meeting just to be able to then type them up so that they give the sense of what took place at the meeting, what the issues were, who spoke, just a general sense. That's all I think that I'm looking for here. It's not at all I'm not looking, we don't need a transcription. That's not required. So we really can't proceed until we do have a second.
So I have a proposal. I'm crushed too, and in a way that I've never been before. I'm happy, but I'm crushed. Meaning, I get up at 5 and start to work, and then I work until I get to this meeting, and so on and so forth. My proposal is that we each take notes for a coming meeting. I can't do tonight. I gotta eat because I haven't yet, so I just know I'm off. But if I'm prepared, I'll take next time. I'll eat beforehand. Won't listen as much because I can't do both. I'll just be honest with you. I can't participate and take notes very well. So that's okay. But I don't want to not be involved with the rest of the meetings for the year because I'm taking notes. I don't have that mind. But I'll do next time. I sign up. If that's a method that could possibly work, is we each sign up for one upcoming.
I actually was thinking along the same lines, Colin, as I was preparing to present this to the commission, to make it more, seem less onerous. If enough of you could volunteer to do it by committee, essentially, each taking, on a rotating basis. So that works fine for me. I think that's a great sort of division of labor. I'm interested to hear what others may think, and especially, Colin has volunteered to be part of that team. Anybody else, would you be willing to do that on a rotating basis? You'll just
I
raise your
certainly
hand.
would. I certainly would.
Fantastic.
And Paul's got both hands up.
Oh, Paul, fantastic.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I've done it before and I know I'm not the best at it, so I can take notes if that's essentially it. On a rotating basis, that seems reasonable and fair to me, and yeah, I could do that.
Fantastic. Anybody
I
else?
can't take it this time either because I have to eat and I'm watching Colin and I'm getting even hungry.
I'm gonna try to close Colin's video. Well, so let me ask this. Right now, we've had Colin, Jill, and Paul have raised their hand. Anybody else willing to raise your hand to split the labor even more, so it's less of a responsibility? It's only every, fifth month that you would be responsible for note taking. Anybody
Happy
else?
to help.
Sorry, who was that? Ryan.
Brian? Yeah.
Brian, thank you very much for
And
that.
I
Brian.
can do tonight. When do you want to say call to order was? I think it was like 7:06.
That's right. 7:06 works. Fantastic, Ryan. So Ryan will be responsible for tonight. Colin volunteered for April. So Jill and Paul, do you folks have any preference for May versus June, that you know that you'll be here or won't be here?
I do have some vacation for June, so if I could do May, that would probably be better.
Okay, great. And Jill, do you think June works for you? Sorry, I can't hear you, Jill.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, folks. Really appreciate that. So tonight, Ryan will be taking notes. Colin will be in April, Paul in May, and then Jill in June. Then we'll rotate back to Ryan the next month. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Next order of business is to approve the meeting minutes for the February meeting. I did bring those to your attention. I hope you've had a chance to review them. Any discussion of those minutes? Any comments, corrections, anything? And hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the February meeting minutes submitted to the town?
I present a motion to approve the minutes, Colin Gillespie.
Thank you, Colin. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
You have a second. All in favor of approving the submitted meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 Hi, sorry.
Okay, I think that's at least 4 that I've heard of 4 eyes. There's Paul 4. Okay, yeah, certainly doing a thumbs up works as well, making it easier. So we've had at least, I think it was 5 ayes. Anybody voting against approving the minutes, please say no. And hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving on to old business of working through the agenda. The first item of business is the goals for the 2022 calendar year. And I sent an email out to the commission asking for any ideas of projects that you would like to see the commission take on for this calendar year. And based upon the feedback I received, as well as some additional ideas that I have come up with, I'd like to present 3 potential commission projects for this year. And after each one, I'd like to have a discussion and then maybe a vote on whether we'd like to take that up as a project. I am sensitive, by the way. I don't want to overwork this commission, or to, I realize the limitations of everybody, all the commission members, time limitations, but I think it's important that the commission take on at least one kind of a big project for the year, in addition to our other responsibilities, primarily of reviewing applications coming before the town for complete streets compliance. So the first project idea is to update the bicycle network map. And I'm going to share my screen with you now. And hopefully you are now seeing the bicycle network map. Somebody please put a thumbs up if you've got it. Okay, great, thank you. So this is the bicycle network map that was created as part of the Complete Streets policy a number of years ago. The date, the original production date of this map, or was adopted, that is, by the town council, May 10th, 2016. And it says below that, revised and current as of 12/15/2017. So that's, going on, it'll be 5 years old this December. And, when you look at this map, when I looked at it earlier today, a number of things jumped out. First of all, it is out of date. And of course, the revised date would show that. But you can see Fern Street is shown as this sort of red and white line. If you look at the legend, those were intended or proposed routes. That's a separated town roadway, a bike lane, for example. So this is shown, Fern Street is shown only as an intended bike lane, when in fact it's now, it is a bike. That work's been done. So we need to, the engineering department needs to, revise and update the map where appropriate to show bike lanes that have been constructed. The second thing is that I noticed was, I think an argument can be made that this map is not sufficiently aspirational. And I bring your attention, I've got my cursor over it, to Farmington Avenue, which, when this map was drawn up, bike lanes were proposed, or were aspirational, if you will, up to about Arlington Avenue from Mountain Road, and actually going up towards Stop and Shop. But beyond that, in yellow, those are sharrows. So at that time, the only thing that was proposed, the only thing that is shown on the map, is sharrows. But there's been a lot of talk that I've heard from the public, asking that we ask for more than that, that we try to establish Farmington Avenue as a major east-west route, bicycle route through town. So a revised map might, make all or some of this yellow turn into red as an intended bicycle route. So, and there are other areas as well. Lots of other areas where there are sharrows shown where we may want to consider something safer and more accessible for cyclists. The third thing that I noticed, really lacking on this map, is that the map doesn't look beyond the town borders. For example, here, Farmington Avenue, I believe it's true that just across the line in Hartford, I believe those are bike lanes that on Farmington Avenue, and it stops at the town line. I know that's certainly the case down here on Park Road, which is right here. So you wouldn't know from this map that there are bike lanes just over in Hartford on the other side of this town line. So the map doesn't allow for trying to create community connectivity beyond the limits of West Hartford. I think that's a really significant omission, and I think it really should be addressed. I think you might also make an argument for that this map should include the locations of existing and proposed bike racks in town, so that it becomes as well a planning tool for bicycle facilities. So those are at least some of the reasons I think that this commission really should take a good second look at this bicycle network map and look to update it, look to become more aspirational, and really bring it more to the current moment. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear some comments from the commission.
I see Jill has her hand up. Jill?
That's a leftover hand. I didn't know how to take it down. I'm almost finished eating, but I'll try to start the video here. I was one of the people that suggested that be one of our projects, and I'm behind. I support Ed's suggestion about being aspirational, and first of all, updating it, being aspirational. There were disputes about what should happen at Farmington. I was in the minority saying that it should have designated lanes all the way through the center. I lost, but I think we should go back and rethink that and maybe re-argue it. And I also have, I also am aspirational about getting to the borders, and it's not just into Hartford. I mean, a lot of people commute to the health center, and yes, it is partly on state roads, but that doesn't mean we can't contact the state and ask them to, to think in the future about at least doing sharrows out that route. And likewise, North Main runs right into the whole the whole complex, the industrial office complex of the insurance companies. And I think we can be aspirational in those directions too.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts?
I guess I have a question of, do we understand how the town is using this map and what's the purpose of it? Just so when we start working on it or doing it, that we're all on the same page of what the actual purpose of this map is. Because I think it's gone through multiple iterations of purpose. And that may be helpful for what we're actually putting on there and saying. Because I'm not sure I know the purpose anymore of it, or how the town's using it, or how we could use it. And there may be two different things about where we may use it and how what the town is using it as.
That's a really good point, Ken. I recall when I guess a few years ago, and I was as a liaison between the commission and engineering department, Dwayne Martin. And I believe Dwayne at that time told me that he would refer to this map anytime that there were municipal projects being designed to see what, if any, complete streets bicycle facilities were shown here. I don't know what the case is though with private developments, whether they're being asked to look at this map, whether they're being held to this map. So that's a really good question, and we certainly we can get an answer to that. We need to know that.
I'm going to piggyback off that and say, is part of the project our recommendations on use, marketing, access, so that it's it's part of our value proposition for cycling in West Hartford, as opposed to something someone that has to find.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that, Colin. Maybe the connection wasn't so good. Could you please repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Use is one thing, and I actually am piggybacking off it to say marketing it, making it more accessible, making it part of the value proposition to live in West Hartford, that you want to go there. Shoot, it could be an app, so that it's easy to access and drop into your GPS. I don't know. I wish I was more technical, but I certainly have aspirations. But there's something to me about, if we're going to do something that it delivers, is there some way to, and maybe I'm not addressing this the right way, but it would be great if we're delivering on where it's safe to ride bikes, how do we then make it more used? Does that make any sense, or am I way off base?
I think I understand what you're suggesting. I can tell you that even as familiar as I am with town government and with this commission, it took me a few minutes to track this bicycle network map down on the town website. It was kind of buried, and if you don't really know your way around, you may never find this map. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would make it SEO friendly. If I put in biking around West Hartford, this should be the first thing that pops up, because it's optimized for search, for example.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, comments?
Well, first of all, apologies. I don't know how to use those little icons, so I'm practicing and they're popping up, and I don't know how to take them down yet, but I'm learning on WebEx. I like Colin's idea. I think that there are a number of things we can do to make it more visible. I mean, one is to make sure it's somewhere more accessible on the town map. We can also recommend the town make inexpensive handouts that we can distribute, that can be distributed to businesses. It's not our job, but I certainly wouldn't mind volunteering to drop this off at places. We can also encourage Bike West Hartford, if it still exists, to have rides on these routes. Not, I know that for a while they were doing it, but I think it sort of fell off. But I think having kind of advertised rides, group rides occasionally, could be helpful. It's not our purview, but maybe working with Bike West Hartford, they could institute that.
Are we, though, just to clarify, though, going back to the purpose of the map, these aren't I mean, there's some existing routes, but this is more, as Ed, you said, aspirational, or a goal for what facilities would be on these routes. So it may be dangerous this isn't for people that know where to bike. It's where we hope facilities may be in the future.
Yes, I mean, except some of these routes are now, there are now enough of enough bikeways that one can do little guided, tours through that which already exists. But it was created not more, I think, stronger than aspirational. I think we had expectations that the town would adopt some plan. It was proposed to the town as a plan. And I think they're using it informally that way, but now that Dwayne's no longer in the position that was very helpful to this, I don't know who's going to keep an eye on it. And maybe that's another thing as the commission we can do, is work with, the town staff to make sure it's an aspiration that becomes realized, right? That it's a objective goal, not just an ideal.
I will certainly raise that question at my next meeting with Greg Summer from engineering and Todd Dumay from planning, that exact question of how is this being used, and I'll be able to report back to the commission at the next meeting. But Jill, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jill.
Well, I was just going to say, if it's not being used, if maybe Dwayne was the only one that paid attention to it, or it's not really being used, then I can see one of our objectives this year in looking at the map is to draw attention to draw greater attention to why it should be developed, right? I mean, not the map, but the routes.
As I said, I do believe that Dwayne told me that he would consult this as part of his design process, municipal road reconstruction, road repaving design process. But there's a lot of other work, obviously, that goes on in town on the private sector, and I don't have a good sense of whether this map is being pulled out at those meetings when their applications are being reviewed by town council, by engineering, and so on. But I will have an answer for you on that next month. As far as Jill, I think what you were referring to was what were called the recreational bike routes. And there were 3 of them, one in the north part of town, one in the central part of town, and one in the south part of town. I think Ken was right. I think those are separate then from what's shown here on this map. This map really, it was created as part of the complete streets policy that was adopted by the town. And this really does direct the town. This is where we at that time, it was this commission, because they put together this map originally. This is where we would like this. This is what we aspire to create bicycle connectivity and safety in town. Here's where we want to see separated bike lanes. Here's where we think showers are appropriate, and so on. So those recreational routes are different.
I wasn't referring to recreational routes. I actually think that was not a good move that we contributed to, because I think it pulled money and it out of bikeway development, and it led some members of town council to believe they had accomplished, had realized our needs for bike routes. I think it had a lot of, even though I think some people use it, although not a lot, but I think it is used. I was referring to these rides that we used to have, like, I think it was called Wednesdays on Wheels. I led some of them where we would just try different routes that some of them had begun to be marked as bike routes, some hadn't. So I was referring to that. The other
Bike West. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Bike West Hartford led that also, but then later started doing these the loop routes.
Yeah, there was a lot of mixing and blurring of lines between Bike West Hartford and the Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission, and I think it led to a lot of confusion of just what the purview of each of those was, and it wasn't always clear. I do believe that, and it's the purpose of this commission is to advise the town. It's advisory. This is an advisory commission. And in the past, a lot of what this commission took on would come under the headline of advocacy, and at times this commission has, when they cross that line, some challenges resulted. And as the chair of this commission, I really want to make sure that we stay on the correct side of that line. Advisory versus advocacy.
I'm sorry, Ed, I agree entirely. That's why I said get Bike West Hartford to sort of do some advocacy. But I think we can advise the town of ways to make these routes, first of all, to develop these routes, which is the most important, the ones that are half developed or undeveloped. But second of all, to make them more publicly known by signage, by having it really accessible on the town website, by having handouts available in City Hall, Town Hall, of the maps, and then I think we can advise. I think we can recommend to Bike West Hartford that they consider helping these goals by leading tours, but I don't know if it's active anymore. I don't know how active it is. So
Okay. Well, at the very end of this, I don't know if anybody's attending from Bike West Hartford, but I am a member there, so I could always speak to that Bike West Hartford news at the end of this meeting when we open up the other one just briefly. But your point about what I think you're referring to are, I think they're called route finding signs. I think those are route finding signs that you're talking about. There are some in town. I know on Brace Road, you drive along and you'll see a sign that says to West Hartford Center, or maybe it's on Whitman. But there are some route finding signs in town. But certainly, I would agree with you that we need a lot more to sort of direct people. This is the easiest way to get to that destination. I think everybody benefits when when the town provides that type of route finding information. So that can even become, be part of this project of the updating the bicycle network map, rolling that in. Any other comments? We do have others that I want to bring up. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to know, just kind of gauges this how much support there is on the commission for this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Hopefully WebEx will pop back up. Okay, so if we can have a show of hands, how many of you would like the commission to take on this project of updating the bicycle network map this calendar year? Raise your hand. So we have 4, that's 5, 6. Okay, it's certainly enough to make a motion. Could I have a motion from somebody to take on as one of our projects, updating the bicycle network map? Motion for that, please.
I move that we take on the updating and perhaps extension of the bicycle map as one of our main projects for the upcoming year, 2022.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
For that move for an updated bicycle network map.
Thank you, Colin. All in favor, either please say aye or raise your hand. Denise, you have your hand up. I don't know if that's in support or, okay, sorry.
Aye.
Thank you, Denise. One more time, please raise your hand so we can make sure that we recorded that. So that's Colin, Ed, Jill, Ryan, Denise said yes as well. Okay. So the motion passes. That will be one of our projects. Thank you. The second potential project I'd like to suggest to you is to create a pedestrian facilities map. To my knowledge, there is no such map in town. For example, a map showing existing or proposed crosswalks. I looked on the town website. I couldn't find anything, certainly under the Pedestrian Bicycle Commission webpage. If the map exists, it's a well-hidden secret. But I'd like to suggest that since this is the Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission, we should be advocating for pedestrians as well. And a map showing existing and aspirational or proposed crosswalks, possibly even public bus stops if we felt that, a connection of existing public bus stops to show connections from pedestrians who want to take mass transit. If this map doesn't exist, and as far as I know it doesn't, I think that's a real data gap. And particularly if we want to, and I think we should be advising the town to put in more crosswalks. There are crosswalks in town, but my position is there's not enough. this would be the vehicle for doing that. So my second suggestion would be to create a committee to create a new or update a pedestrian facilities map. And I open it up for any comments or suggestions or questions.
Did you just, I just as a side comment, I just saw an email come up that people can't get on the phone. Just now.
Sorry, I didn't see that. David Petrella, are you aware of that?
Came through on that email.
Did you know who it was? I just helped someone get in. I'm wondering if it was.
Yeah, check. Jack Doherty?
Yes. You can't get in.
Yeah, there's
Doherty?
Oh, Did they? I can work with them, but did they specify exactly what the issue was?
yes. I'm surprised y'all didn't get this. The phone connection is not listed. That's listed in the agenda is not working for at least 3 of us. We cannot participate in the public meeting. The phone line asked for an additional ID access code that was not provided.
Oh my goodness. I think I see what the problem is. I think this agenda actually, whoever compiled, possibly, hold on a sec. Let me actually, if you can let him know, just because I don't have his information, or the 3 of them you mentioned, it looks like the phone number listed there is not the correct one. I will update that.
So what he's saying is, someone please acknowledge this to tonight's meeting and fix the problem for next time. I'll say acknowledge. Do you want me to say anything else?
I'm sorry, what was that? Because I can.
He indicated, please fix this for next time. Is there anything else I should say to him other than yes, it will be fixed for next time? Or is there something about this time I should?
I can help them get in right now, actually. All I have to do is update the agenda here and put in the proper phone number.
Okay, I'll write that you're doing that, David.
Thank you for noticing that, Colin. I apologize. I don't know if anybody from the public is hearing this. I guess maybe they're not if they're not able to join. I just I apologize for the just the kind of the ongoing challenges that these virtual meetings are posing for the public and making it very difficult for them to join. We really do need the public input, and I feel bad that
All right.
people are not getting
have a hot mic.
I mean, while we're on this, it's not just the public. I have not been getting the WebEx, the email with the WebEx a link to it either, and I had to sort of ask around before each meeting. So maybe David, maybe you can just whoever's in charge of sending out the emails to make sure that all of the commission members receive them with the WebEx link.
Absolutely. I can make sure your name, actually, if you could chat using the chat, if you send me your current email address, it's possible that I have an old one, or I might actually be missing it. Feel free to send me that and I'll paste it in and make sure that you get them in the future.
Okay, just sending it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I don't know what the status of the public trying to join. Hopefully they'll be able to come in.
Yeah, so I just uploaded the number. I think it's that the number in the agenda was incorrect, but I've now added, it has the number and the password. So if they're calling my phone, that should be all set. It's at the very top of the description in the YouTube page now.
Okay, I'll just hope that they'll see that and be able to be able to call in.
Is someone going to answer the email? I mean, I'll tell them that they can come in now if they want to.
I just did answer the email.
Okay, thank you.
I replied.
In the meantime, can I open the floor up for any comments or discussion on any interest in creating a the committee to either create or update the pedestrian facilities map. Thoughts on that?
Well, one thing I was considering is, what if we got this on the project list and then created the committee? If you're asking us to create a committee now, why don't we get all the projects on the list, and then we can be making choiceful thoughts about which projects each of us will be on. We'll see one project is not having enough people, make a request for more, things like that. How's that sound?
That's a great idea. That's a
And
great
that
idea.
means we could say, could this be a potential project, rather than does someone want to be on the committee?
Fantastic. I'll do that. I'll send that information out once, after this meeting, once we've gone through the discussion of projects. In that case, then the third project that I would ask the commission to entertain for this year would be a road safety committee or a road safety study. Currently, I don't believe that this commission has a handle or information on how many pedestrian or bicyclist accidents occur in town each year, or where those accidents are occurring. And I would argue that that's important information. We should know whether there are accidents are trending up, trending down, holding steady, if there's a pattern as to where they are occurring. Right now, I think that's a big data gap that this commission doesn't have, and I think it should have. A committee or a study, a road safety study, would rely upon a Yukon website. It's called the Connecticut Crash Data Repository. It's a database of accidents reported to the state by all of the municipalities in Connecticut. And I think it would be worthwhile, to do a look back for the last 5 years. How many accidents involving pedestrians and cyclists in each of the last 5 years, and creating a map of where those were occurring, and possibly even updating this on a quarterly or annual basis. So any thoughts, any questions, or anybody want to expand on an idea of filling that data gap with a road safety committee or project?
It seems like a really nice dovetail with the survey in the summer. We could even have that be, if there's data to be shared of value for people who sign up for the survey, or something like that. But it just seems to me an objective and data-driven that's different than what we're getting on the 1,000-person survey. So to me, it's a great dovetail of data.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Anybody else?
I think it's a great idea. I do think that we're going to have to rely on help. I mean, I know we can grab all this online out of the state, but I think we're going to need probably the police to help us with some of that. Right? I mean, I think it would be very difficult for us to compile that alone.
That is possible. That the police, I believe, as I said, should be reporting that data into the crash repository database. I've been told in the past that the timeliness at which data are reported by municipalities across the state varies from town to town, city to city. But that the data should be there. Theoretically, that database should be complete. It is possible, by the way, I should note that we may be able to rely on volunteers who have helped this commission quite a bit in the past in this area of crash data. I have one particular member of the public in mind who I would love to get in touch with to see if he might be interested in helping the town. To my knowledge, he was the one who first several years ago, brought the existence of this database, crash repository database, to the attention of the commission, and he really knows his way around that that database. So it might be something that we could be able to get some help on from interested public. So I put that out there. Any other thoughts before we kind of wrap the projects area up?
Ed, Jay, I see that there is a public here. Jay's here. Are you here, Jay? Oh, he can't talk, but maybe you want to
I don't know
quickly.
if you can hear me or not, Ed and Jill.
Yes, loud and clear, Jay. Sorry that it was once again difficult for you and other members of the public to join, but I'm glad you persevered and made your way in.
Maybe
I got the WebEx info off the top of the YouTube just a minute ago there. I know that there are at least 2 other people who were trying to sign in tonight from the public, and we weren't able to be with you tonight because the agenda had inaccurate information. Normally the problem with the call-in the last few months has been that it lacks the final code. There's 3 numbers that are needed to call in. There's the main phone number, and then an access code, and then a password. So the agenda has lacked the 3 numbers. It usually has the 2. So that was the problem tonight. And here I am. Maybe a couple others will join us here in a minute. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Ed, I thought you might just take a moment to share with Jay the list of to-dos.
Yes, or potential projects. I'd be happy to, and this will all be, make its way eventually into the minutes. But Jay, just to fill you in, what we just concluded discussing was potential projects for the commission to take on in this calendar year, and I proposed 3. Some of this came from feedback from the commission itself. The first would be a project to update the bicycle network map to both to revise it to reflect those bicycle facilities that have been added since the last update almost 5 years ago, to perhaps make this network map more aspirational and ask for more bicycle lanes and fewer sharrows, which I think many of the public feel they don't feel safe on. And as well, to show bicycle facilities that we should be thinking about connecting to in our neighboring communities and towns and cities. Connections, bike lanes that exist, for example, in Hartford on Park Road or Park Street, Farmington Avenue, or even connections that going both north and south and west, all directions. Any existing bicycle facilities that we should be thinking about tying into to make a greater community connectivity, I would argue should be included on that map. So that was the first potential project. The second is to create a pedestrian facilities map. To our knowledge, such a map of the town does not exist, and that map could include and probably should include existing crosswalks, as well as proposed or aspirational crosswalks where we think we would like to see them, and even possibly showing existing public transportation, bus stations and so on. So those are the 3. Those are the two potential. The third possible project to take on was the establishment of a road safety committee to use the Connecticut crash data repository to generate data on over the past 5 years, annual data, how many pedestrians and cyclists are involved in vehicle crashes per year, and as well, where are those crashes occurring, looking for trends, looking for patterns of where crashes are taking place, and updating those data either quarterly or possibly annually. So the commission agreed that they would like to think about these 3 projects, and I will take a poll of the commission sometime between this meeting and the next, and we'll report back as to how much interest there is among the commission in taking on one or more of these projects. So I would, I have on my agenda public input. So Jay, if you'd like to I'm sorry, Colin.
Just a quick one. Is this the exhaustive list of projects for the year? There was a list that we shared and talked about Jan Feb. Would it be, there's other things that we'll do, like the survey and all that. Would it be a good idea to share the 3 incremental and then the ones that are already decided if they are?
So that's a good point. I noted the comments regarding the survey, and I just kind of assumed that would be, the commission would take that on. But if that, we view that as a project, and whether, we want to continue that or not, that's a good point. Thank you, Colin, for pointing that out. But certainly an annual survey of the community. It's a project that the commission has performed, taken on in the past, and we need to know, is that something, do we see value in that? Do we want to continue that? So certainly, I would add that as a 4th potential project for the commission. Thank you, Colin.
Okay, thanks.
Jay, you're muted. I don't know if I invited comments. Anybody else from the public who may be there? Jay, any thoughts?
I'm here, and I was able to hear most of the commission's meeting on YouTube leading up to now. But thanks for the summary, Ed. I really appreciate it. I thank you for taking on this role. I have this sense in participating in the last couple of meetings that you have this wonderful, slow-moving but fast and direct approach to these projects, and I really appreciate your point of view, and I appreciate the way that you're presenting these ideas. Thanks so much for doing this job. And I don't want to take up a bunch of time, but I do want to say that I absolutely agree with Jill Morawski that it's really important for us to choose some of the bike network and some of the proposed pedestrian network map routes, and actually go out, those of us in the advocacy side of things, and go out and present members of the public using them, so that people in our town can see that these are routes that are feasible to use, and that and that we're not just a group of crazy people, and that we actually are out. And so I to that point, I've proposed at Bike West Hartford that we do group rides this spring to flesh out Jill's idea, which is one that I share. And another point I just want to make really quick is that I just recently participated for several months, actually, in as a member of the Sustainability Advisory Group, which was a group that the town council appointed to present them with ideas about how to make the town of West Hartford a more sustainable and resilient place moving into the future. And one of the roles that I shared, along with a couple other members, Johannes and Ed Persnowski, and I worked a lot on looking at bicycle routes. And what we had come to as a group decision is that it's really important in building out a bike network in West Hartford to have a couple of reliable one reliable east-west and one reliable north-south route that we can go all in to make safe for people to use, with protected bike lanes, so that people will, from the public who aren't insane spandex riders, will actually, just regular everyday users will go out and try and use, I think, well. And so Farmington from Prospect into Town Center, and North Main from Town Center out to Bishops are the 2 routes that I think are critically important to move ahead with. And I would love to see the Bike Ped Commission support those as priorities moving ahead. And the Sustainability Advisory Group is, like yourselves, able to make recommendations. They don't carry the weight of any kind of decision-making power, but I think that town council members are listening, especially certain members like Ben Winograd, who is a reliable and supportive bicyclist himself, and also Mayor Cantor has done a great job listening to us in the past year. And so I think that to start with a T, or to start with a basic skeletal infrastructure of protected bike lanes on Farmington and North Main, is where I'm coming from. I think it would be really great for us to have that. I love the work that this commission did on the survey last year. I love the idea of a pedestrian network map, and I love the idea of making the Yukon crash repository a little bit more accessible to the public and to the town in terms of making decisions. Thanks very much for the opportunity to talk, and I'm glad you all are here tonight. Thanks so much for your service.
Thank you very much, Jay. And by the way, for the commissioners, I did receive, I can't recall now where maybe it was Jay who forwarded, yeah, I think it was Jay who forwarded it to the Sustainability Commission report, which they're presenting to the town council. He forwarded a copy to me and to Ethan Frankel over at Bike West Hartford. And I will share that with the commissioners sometime in the near future before the next meeting, so that you can see how that sustainability committee spoke to the issue of bicycle and pedestrian connectivity and safety. It's a amazingly dense and detailed reports. A lot of work went into a lot of good ideas, and I think we can take a lot from it. So you'll be seeing that soon. Very good. That then concludes the projects discussion. I would like to talk about something that I heard from a lot of commissioners when I asked you for project ideas to share with me, that doesn't take the form of a project, but I think it's operational, how this commission works. Many of you expressed, I'll call it frustration, with the fact that this commission often is, for various reasons, is reactive and is not proactive. That is, we don't always seem to be in the loop of groups in town that are reviewing applications. And as a result, there are opportunities for advising the town to include bicycle connectivity on development projects, and they're slipping through the cracks. And the most recent example was just last year, was the 920 Farmington Avenue project. I believe it was in January that the commission first discussed that project, and at that meeting, the commission asked Ken Livingston to draft a letter to the town council advising that project, given its proximity to the Trout Brook Trail, should look to include connectivity, a connection to between that new development, 920 Farmington Avenue, and that Trout Brook Trail. And before Ken could even draft a letter, that application had been approved. So the town council never heard from this commission. And to be honest with you, I've never seen the plans. I don't know if that connection, if a connection was included on those plans or not. And I'm not interested in, litigating the past, but I certainly want to avoid those kind of slips through the cracks in the future. I think that's what a lot of you were expressing to me in your emails about how the commission needs to be more proactive and less reactive in the ability to review and have an opportunity to provide advice, recommendations to the town council as they are reviewing development applications. It kind of goes to the discussion we were having earlier of whether, private development applications are even using the bicycle network map. That's all part of that same question. And in a very short time, I'll be sharing with you my conversation I had with Greg Summer from Engineering Department recently. But Greg and I talked about this issue. I brought it to his attention of how it is, unless this commission asks for plans, or we have to do the asking. The plans aren't delivered to this commission, and unless we ask for plans, unless we are unless we take the lead, the plans are not going to show up on our desks. And I discussed this with Greg for a while, and he agreed to speak to Todd DeMay, the town planner, about that. And I'm looking forward into my monthly meeting with both of them to see what they've come up with. But I can tell you that I'm working hard to ensure that things don't slip through the cracks on this commission, that we see the plans that we need to see, because we can't provide recommendations, complete streets recommendations, unless we even have the details of the projects. So that's an operational bug that I think we need to work out, and I'll keep you posted on that. But whether it's resuming the liaison and really making that liaison between this commission and engineering and planning, just an absolute monthly meeting, and to make sure that we get that information. But we need to do a better job of that. But I'd like to hear commissioners' thoughts on all of that.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, we don't want to live history, but there's been multiple instances where fairly big changes were made at intersections that affected both cyclists and pedestrians. As the development on Steel near Asylum is one, where now it's actually riskier for pedestrians and cyclists, right? And I think we should be very proactive in this and saying we really do need to be in on the information much sooner than we are.
I mean, that goes back to the core mission of this commission. At one time, I think it was much more to be involved directly with helping to give comments, provide feedback on plans and development projects, and that was our core purpose. At one point, it's meandered involved, and we've really, I think, have gotten away from that, both on maybe our attention to that effort and also how the town has interacted with the commission. And that may be something even in conversations with us, and then with Todd, Dwayne, and Greg of what role we can serve and how helpful we can be in this area. Because at one point they were looking to us for technical support and guidance, and we've moved away from there for I'm not sure exactly why. I think there's variety of potential reasons.
Any other commissioners, any other thoughts or comments? I would point out when the commission has had an opportunity to review plans, as I've, as just an observer from the outside over the past, maybe this last year or two, they've done an excellent job. And the project that comes to mind is the intersection of Albany Avenue and Mountain Road. Those plans, this commission really gave those plans a really good look over, and you did your best. You did your best to see that pedestrian connectivity was able to be honored there, but there were other constraints that kind of overruled what this commission recommended. But you really did. This commission really did make a strong case for modifying those plans so that sidewalks were not eliminated, so that pedestrian access was provided for. So, when given an opportunity, I think this commission has shown the expertise and the willingness to really pore over plans, look them over carefully and for complete streets implications. So this commission can do its job. We just have to be given the opportunity. We have to know about the projects, the applications, and the plans in order to do that job. I'd ask once again for any input from the public, anybody from the public who might want to comment on that, that operational aspect of this commission, how it works. Okay, moving on to new business. And I'm going to do my best to get this done, this meeting closed by 8:30, for everybody's sake. But engineering updates. I did speak with Greg Summer, had a good conversation. Greg, I've invited him to our April meeting, our April 11th meeting, and he will be able to attend, and we'll certainly look forward to Greg, his presentation, and asking him a lot of questions. Let me take a few minutes to fill you in on what I learned from Greg. First of all, regarding the North Main Street Road diet, Greg told me that there is a public information meeting scheduled for April 19th. And he was not sure at that time whether it will be in person or virtual or perhaps a hybrid of the two. But the town is planning public information meeting on April 19th, so please put that on your calendar. The final report on the North Main Street Road diet or trial study by the consultant engineering company is going to be presented to the town council at one of their meetings. Greg said it will either be May 10th or the 24th. He wasn't certain at this time, but hopefully soon he'll know the exact date of that. But so there's going to be a formal presentation on what they learned from that road diet trial to the town council, May 10th or 24th. I'll let you know when if I find the exact date. Additionally, Greg told me that there are plans to repave a portion of North Main Street. That is the portion between Asylum Avenue and the bridge, North Main Street, sometime this summer. So he said that logistically, they wouldn't want to do that paving until a decision has been made by the town council on whether the road diet will be accepted as it's been laid out on North Main Street, whether it'll be accepted in some revised form, or whether it will be rejected. So, when they do that paving on that portion of North Main Street, they want to know what the striping is going to be on that portion. So that's going to kind of driving the time frame of getting the report finalized and to the town council, so that one way or the other, the town will be ready for the repaving and striping that will take place on North Main Street this summer. I'm going to hold off on public input until the end of these engineering comments. Let's see. Next, Greg filled me in on the status of the road reconstruction and resurfacing projects in town at this point in time. The road reconstruction projects, that's where they completely rebuild the road. And there are 4 of them planned, but they're all on neighborhood streets where no bicycle facilities are shown on the network map. They're neighborhood streets. So I didn't check the map, but he said, they don't appear on the network map, and they're not streets where we would be recommending either shallows or bike lanes. But there are some resurfacing projects that'll be of interest to this town. That is the milling and then repaving. 3 of those are on residential streets. I didn't write the names down on them, but Greg can provide that next month. But Mayflower Street, which you may know, it runs from Webster Hill, is it Boulevard or Road? Webster Hill Road ends at the I-84 bridge, and then Mayflower Street picks up at that point and then runs all the way down to Park or New Britain Avenue. So that portion of Mayflower Street between New Britain Avenue and the I-84 bridge is going to be resurfaced. Now, That's going to be, Greg said, either in late May or in June. Now, show that on the community, rather on the bicycle network map. Let's see. So we have let's see. North Main Street. Here's Webster, here's South Main Street and Webster Hill Boulevard. Some of this right now already has bike lane on it, starting, I believe, well, somewhere in this area there are bike lanes already. But Webster Hill goes by Webster Hill School, and then when it crosses the bridge, I-84 bridge, that's when Mayflower Street picks up, and it runs from the bridge down to New Britain Avenue. But you'll of course remember that the St. Bridget's School is over here, and then that's going to be redeveloped as a community center. So there are new connectivity destinations of interest that were not there at the time that this map was created. Right now, this is shown as proposed sharrows, but we may want to, we're going to want to have conversations with engineering about that. I do know that the road gets a lot narrower on Mayflower than it is back up on Webster Hill Boulevard, but next month we'll want to talk to Greg about this. This could be, an important connectivity, particularly to allow cyclists to be able to get safe access to an eventual community center here. And then finally, the third big resurfacing project is on Farmington Avenue. And it's Farmington between Mountain Road and Wardwell, which is, this map is kind of hard for me to read. Wardwell goes, but here's Sedgwick Road, here's Wardwell. So it's from Farmington Avenue between Mountain Road and Wardwell. It's going to be resurfaced. Now, Greg pointed out, and I checked, and it's true, that there are no raised medians in that section of Farmington Avenue. They're just flush with the road surface. And so there, we've shown this on this, even on the network map, we've shown this as proposed bike lanes. So we're going to be really interested here to look for opportunities to create bike lane or bike lanes on this section. It's going to be resurfaced this summer, and perhaps can, pun intended, pave the way for that work eventually moving, for future resurfacings continuing in the easterly direction. So this is one that certainly caught my attention. I'm sure yours as well. Let me stop there, as I have one other item that Greg mentioned to me, but let me stop there and ask first for commission input or discussion on those the road diet or the road reconstruct or road resurfacings that Greg told me about. Okay. Sorry, somebody speaking?
Yeah, just giggling.
Okay. We'll be able to ask Greg a lot of questions about all of that next month. I did ask Greg about the status of the traffic calming report, which I found it's still in a draft status. The acting town manager is reviewing that draft traffic calming report. But when it's finalized, it will be posted on the engineering website. But Greg pointed out that residents can still bring any concerns they have of speeding on their streets to the engineering department, and the engineering department will apply the criteria, in that draft report in determining whether traffic calming is warranted on those streets. So that's the status of the traffic calming report. Any comments from commissioners or from the public at this point? Okay, hearing none. I'd like to ask the commissioners what your take is of the using Google Drive for administering files and maps and reports, storing and sharing files and maps and reports among the commissioners. I know Daniel Johnson, the prior chair, made a lot of use of the Google Drive for storing lots of different information. And my question is, whether that's something that a tool that the commissioners found of value, whether you'd like to continue that, if so, what you would like to see posted out on that Google Drive, or whether you found that you weren't using it, whether you think it should be discontinued. So I'd like to open that up for commission comment.
What's your view? I mean, what I mean by that is even for agendas and materials would be helpful for you in your management. Are you a Google Drive guy? Because I wouldn't mind doing something that works for you. You've taken on this task to be the leader.
Thanks for that, Colin. I have to admit that I'm a neophyte on Google Drive. I've been using it on 2 other volunteer committees that I belong to, one professional and one with my church. And I have found Google Drive at times to be helpful when we are working on reports jointly, and so that you have a work in progress, like a draft report, just stored in one place. And you don't have a million different iterations out there. And as such, when it's stored in one place, people who are working on it can go to that document, can provide notes, comments, or even revise text or edit it in one place. So I found it to be useful in those applications. In others, I just find that it becomes a repository where everything is just dumped in a Google Drive, and it becomes at some point just unmanageable because there's so much just dumped out there. So I've seen where it can be of use. In other situations, like just sharing an agenda with you folks, I find it easier just to send out the agenda as an attachment to that I send out as an email attachment, or even perhaps even sending out site plans that are PDFs, maybe just sending out to each of you as an email attachment. It's not something that we're going to be modifying, working on as a group. The site plans are what they are. They're engineered plans. So, I think the documents I need to share with you, I would prefer, I think, to send them out as email attachments. Maybe I worry about having documents stored in multiple locations. If I were to put, for example, this bicycle network map out on Google Drive, but then it's revised and a revised version is put out on Town Hall. Well, now we've got this old version here on Google Drive, but it doesn't reflect the latest conditions. So I think I would recommend using it judiciously, but only where I feel, or commissioners feel, that it's going to be of some value, but not just a dumping ground. Other thoughts? Has anybody, can I ask, has any commissioner gone to and used the Google Drive in the last number of months or last year? Okay. Denise or Paul, I don't. Others have.
No, I have not used it, and for me, I mean, I can go either way. Like, I think email attachments are generally more timely for me to see because I don't have a propensity to hop on the drive and poke around and see who's doing what, and the filing systems can get a little difficult if there's not kind of rules to the road with shared drives, so to speak. So in terms of like my view, I'm totally fine with sharing information via email and attachments and moving forward like that. But I'm also flexible.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think we ever used it. Even though Daniel set it up, he still sent everything as an attachment in the end.
Okay. Okay. Thanks everybody for your feedback. I don't want to, I don't want to take on tasks that aren't of value to the commission. I really want to be judicious with my time and with your time as well. So if it gets to the point where we're working on maybe I'll say a draft letter, if we're working on a draft letter to the town, and we want multiple people to be looking at it and providing input, or a draft report that we're writing, then I'd like to put it out there. But otherwise, I'll communicate with you through attachments or links, to relevant information. Okay, that's very helpful to me. At 8:26, timely, I wanted to ask you about the monthly meeting duration. I'd like to propose that we set as our goal that our meetings be completed by 8:30, an hour and a half duration. In the past, I know that's been that's been adhered to quite closely. And there are at times meetings, they've run beyond that. But personally, I'd like that to be the exception, that we run late because it's just a very busy agenda. But just speaking for myself, by the time I get to 8:30 after a long day of work and everything else, I'm ready to check out. And if the meeting is going beyond 8:30, I think maybe the agenda was too full. And so I'm seeing thumbs up, I'm seeing shaking of heads. I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate all of that. Colin's sending out fireworks. Denise has got both hands up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will do my best to keep things moving. I think you've seen tonight, I've tried to keep things moving. I want to provide opportunity for everybody, for all commissioners to be able to speak. And I want to provide opportunity for the public as well. But I really do want to keep to that hour and a half.
And the way it is with anything, if you have a night where you need extended, ask permission. If you feel like it's going to go over, ask permission rather than letting it just flow through. Can anyone stay at 8:25? It's too late. At 8:15, say, hey, we still have more to go. Are we all going to stay on or not? It'll give you an idea of what our push agenda points or ones that will complete. So it's a little bit about doing the hour and a half, but managing it thoughtfully.
Will do. I don't want to cut off, meaningful conversation, but on the other hand, I don't want the meeting to go on, forever. So I'll do my best to manage that. The April meeting, I've been told that it's the commission's decision whether to hold a meeting virtually or in person. I need to confirm that with town hall, but if in fact it is our decision, and given that COVID numbers are looking much better, and a lot of restrictions are being lifted by the town and broader state, I'd like to ask the commission what you think about how the next meeting should be held. Would you like to it to be an in-person meeting or virtual? And I would put the caveat that this is not cast in stone. If we vote for an in-person meeting next month and conditions change all of a sudden and worsen, and all of a sudden restrictions are being placed, I'm certainly think, it would be prudent for us to revisit this if there's an interest in doing so. But I'd like to just take a poll of the commission at this time, whether you would like to continue with the virtual, or if you would prefer to do in person. So I'd ask, I guess by show of hands, Or first, if there was any discussion, let me ask that from the commission before I take a vote. Any thoughts or comments?
I don't know. It's a little bit about what are the attributes thereof, and so I almost feel like virtual then in person, virtual and then in person will keep us connected, but also give us some convenience on those nights. Meaning we could just sign on at 5 to 7, 7 o'clock. So my proposal, just to foil off of, is we go in person, virtual, so that it's just a little easier on everybody, but still has the attribute of coming together.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think, of course, this is all in some sense dependent on what the town decides are the formal structures of meetings of town commissions going forward. I mean, I don't know if we're going to have a choice once we return to in-person life, whether we can have a choice to be virtual when we want. I mean, I don't know, but I will, it's very nice. I agree with Colin to sort of be able to jump from work onto a meeting. But it does, I think, have a cost for our public who can't be visibly present, who've had difficulty the entire time getting on, as many of us have. So I think it's a cost. We're unlikely to get new people like Jay sitting in patiently, not being able to see us and we not being able to see him. But I think there are other people that aren't just going to show when it's virtual, right?
That are or not going to show when it's virtual.
They're not going to show when it's virtual, and they're not going to have a voice, and they're not going to have a face. I mean, you do give them voice, but kind of from the closet.
Speaking as one who viewed these meetings from the outside all last year, I absolutely am sympathetic to how difficult it is for the public to attend these meetings, and even at that, they're kept at arm's length and only are allowed to attend by phone. It's very inconvenient for the public, and I think it discourages public participation, and that's to the detriment of the commission, I believe. Anybody else, other commissioners, before I open it to the public? And by the way, if you in the same way that you're going to be voting for projects, I could put it out in an email to you soon, where you could vote for in person or virtual if you want to think about it some more. I don't want to rush this decision, so if you'd like, I could put that to a vote as well in an email following this meeting, and then of course the outcome of that would be publicized in the agenda as to whether it's virtual or in person.
Hey Ed, it's Paul Hogan here. I can do either way. I think I'd have a slight preference for in person, but if that's not the will of the group, I'm happy to keep doing online. But kind of alluding to your earlier comments, it's kind of nice to get out. I sit in front of a computer from 7 a.m. until right now it's 8:30, so it's good to get out and just see people and get some air. So I think that would probably be my preference there.
Okay.
Participation with the public too, I think, is better, and just generally collaboration seems to be more fluid in person. So.
I agree. I see Jay Stange emphatically with an exclamation point at the end, and I'm sympathetic to that. His note is "in person, please." Right, so one vote from the public for in person. Any other discussion among the commissioners?
I would wonder if you can explore the possibility of moving our meetings back to, if we're going to be in person or when we're going to be in person, back to town hall. I think for those people who commute to the meetings, it's an added inconvenience, and I don't mean they have to bike an extra mile. They don't mind that, but it's actually very dangerous biking that end of town in the evening in the dark. And I think that having meetings in the town hall gives more presence. Our name gets up on the bulletin board. People see us coming in and out as they're going to meetings. I think it has a publicity component. But that's my 2 cents.
It's a good point. I'll raise that question when I speak to town hall.
You're here.
Okay. if the commission is okay with it, I will put this to a vote in my email along with the projects. I'd like you to give some thought to this, and then the commission's vote will be expressed then in the agenda that comes out for the April meeting as to where and how it's taking place. That wraps up the meeting. If there's any other comments or thoughts you'd like to share before I make a motion to adjourn? No. Can I please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourn.
Second. Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, folks. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you very
you.
much.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, Jay, for sitting in and for your patience. Good night. Good night, David. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Have